Hi, I'm Les Wilson. Welcome to the Boca First Bike Advocate channel. Today is a special event. We're at Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day at Addison Mizner. With me is Holly Sutton, who is the chairperson this year for this event. So Holly, tell me, why do we have this event?
It's promoting healthy kids coming to school. It's actually an international event, and hopefully it will gather strength and go nationwide around America.
I noticed that there's a lot of studies and literature that show walking and biking to school helps kids learn and pay attention and overall achieve more. I know you've been walking to school with your kids for a while.
Yeah.
Any validity to that in your experience?
Absolutely. They're looking around, they're paying attention, they're seeing nature, trees, birds. This morning, actually, my child picked up a leaf and asked what kind of tree that came from. And they see the moon rise, and they're just curious about everything around, which you wouldn't get if you weren't walking or biking or rolling with them to school.
So it even helps your relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the community-wise. Every morning I come out and I say hello and greet all my neighbors and seeing everybody eye to eye, and it creates such a big community around here.
Speaking of the community, we have a council member with us here. With us today is Council Member Mark Wigder. Mark is also the chairman of the CRA for the downtown. So, Mark, can you talk to us about the current mood in the City Council with respect to mobility and maybe some of the initiatives that are starting?
I'm sure if you heard the last budget meetings, you could hear all of the council members are super excited and positive about mobility, connectivity, walkability, pedestrianism. Obviously, I was on the Bike and Pedestrian Committee before being a city councilman for 4 years, so it's kind of in my heart and all the time to think about it and to make sure that the budget thinks about it. The head of municipal services said right now, in terms of transportation, 30% of our budget is towards bike and pedestrian functions, and mobility and connectivity became one of the 5 city priorities in our strategic planning session in May, right after I got elected. So I'm pretty happy about that, and I think it's super important because when you see this quality of life, if you could just see all these bikes and children here, this is the quality of life that we want. Now, can the city do more to work on some of this traffic? Yeah, of course we could do more. But we have to start, and then we have to keep on moving.
Yeah, clearly funding and, a culture in the city of wanting it is one thing, but it does take the residents to support it. We can have bike advocates, we can have city council members like you and Fran and others that really want this, but the residents need to understand the benefit and get behind it, right?
Oh, 100%. Listen, like I said, this is a quality of life issue. People love Boca Raton because it's quality of life, and part of that is being able to let your kids and Holly's kids this morning walk together. Her young son scootered, and being able to bike or walk to school is one of those things. And then the other thing is, it's part of the Palm Beach County School District does not offer busing for the last mile. So you would think logically you'd want that last mile or half a mile.
2 miles.
2 miles, but you'd want to be able to walk or bike that last distance instead of lining up cars in the morning and in the afternoon.
Yeah, Dr. Merlin, FAU professor, talked about this as it's voluntary traffic congestion. We do it to ourselves here. Addison Mizner clearly has a very high participation. When I talked to the crossing guards at Boca Middle, they indicate it's been waning year to year. They've been getting fewer and fewer up there. And part of it could be the bike infrastructure that's up there versus here. We have this great stuff.
I feel it's a correlation,
Right.
People are riding less and less and more are getting into cars, and the car traffic is at a high rate of speed, and so people don't feel safe, parents don't feel safe, kids don't feel safe.
Florida has a ton of canals with a lot of berm, a lot of extra space, and certainly in terms of connectivity, it would be great and it would be safe because it would be very protected. So, you and I talked about this many times. It's not just about bike lanes. Painting a line on the street is one thing. It's about protected bike lanes.
And feeling safe.
Right. When you have a shared use trail, like a 12-foot trail or an 8-foot trail on the side away from the vehicular traffic, obviously parents can feel safer that their children are safe.
And it's less stress.
Less stress. Being adjacent, just look how many cars here. If there was a bike lane right here, I don't know if that would accomplish the same goal as a protected bike lane. So we need to have this culture where we're thinking like this. Simply painting an extra line on the street is not a protected bike lane.
Other cities that are a little bit ahead of us in this are using what's called bikeways.
Yeah, they have little curves.
Protected bikeways, and what the difference is that the bike lanes, they're not at the same level as the road. They're at the same level as the sidewalk.
Yes.
And so now you get a curb to protect the bike lanes, which is like a sidewalk for bikes, which is kind of why we see people riding the sidewalk. It just feels safer. But it also separates the bike traffic from the pedestrians.
Yeah, no, listen, I think you said it best. It's a culture. It's a culture. When you see this, and remember, although today is bike day, I've been here many days. This happens every day here, right? This is at Addison Mizner. This is the culture here.
But that's because the school is in the neighborhood,
right?
So it's accessible.
Right.
Right. The city takes a lot of heat for things that are totally out of its control. Right, so this is a city-managed street,
right?
But other ones,
our county,
our county. Now, there you have this interagency cooperation, and it's really the city that needs to promote to, like, the state or the county.
Well, we need to be our own advocate, right? Yeah, there are times where I talk to the school board superintendent, Frank Barbieri. We talk about potential projects of overflow parking, whether it's up the street here at the Pretzel on 12th or at Calusa, or J.C. Mitchell has a similar problem. Many of the schools have a similar problem. We talk potentially, very, very briefly, on Military, maybe doing a pedestrian bridge, because now you have a new school there, and you have Don Estridge, and you have the library. So doing a pedestrian bridge on Military would connect all the Western communities to all those schools safely. And that's the idea, is you want your kids to feel safe crossing the street.
The other player is the Lake Worth Drainage District, right?
LWDD is important.
They own so much real estate that would just open up mobility in our city. It's a real asset that we have in Boca, are all the canals.
Yeah.
If we can get cooperation there.
So that's part of the advocacy program, where we're talking to the county, we're talking to the state, we're talking to our lobbyists, we're talking to the legislature, we're talking to representatives, because those are some of the things that we probably need help from Tallahassee to get done on a citywide level.
That's something.
Not just our city, every city.
But people can do that. So
anyone can
we can be lobbying as residents, our representatives.
Absolutely. Working with the city's bike committee, people attending meetings, people giving their ideas, people sending them to city council, people lobbying their representatives. All those things are about the culture of advocacy for our city that I'm super happy to be a part of, and it's so great to be, with people who care, and because I think we're on the right path. And
it's like we're at a moment in the history of the city where we can turn the corner on this. We've tried in the past.
And listen, the one thing, thankfully we have awesome fiscal management in this city. We have, a great city manager who's been with us for so many years, who's, a CPA by trade, so he's been able to manage the budget. So in terms of that, we don't have a lot of bonds. We don't have a lot of excess, we don't have deficits. So in terms of, we have a great reserve fund, and so we have the capital to do some of these great projects, both downtown in the CRA, for the local downtown walkability projects, and of course, in the rest of the city.
Hey guys, thanks for joining me today and helping get the word out about what's going on here.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so there's another person here. I'd like to ask him to come up. With me now is Brian Stenberg. And Brian, you're a cyclist and a walker, just a regular guy on a bike.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what it's been like lobbying for these changes here and what is your neck of the woods.
Yeah, so it's it's always an uphill battle because there's conflict between what the drivers want and what safety needs we have as a community, and how we approach really lifestyle choices, because biking and walking are lifestyle choices that we choose to make.
I want to switch to the neighborhood aspect of this. Part of the success of Addison Mizner, beyond the bigger sidewalks and everything, is in fact the neighborhood.
Right.
Getting behind it and promoting it and acting on it.
Right.
However, there are other things that kind of are barriers, like the pretzel up here at Palmetto Park. You now are reaping the benefit of success in getting a walkable school in the neighborhood and some infrastructure to support it.
Right.
But as we look at multiplying this success, say to Boca Middle, what would you want to say to the residents of those neighborhoods near 12th and all that might be impacted by it? What would you want to tell them to convince them this is a good thing to do? How do they benefit in the end?
When you encourage safer walking and safer biking, you add quality of life, value to the quality of life in that neighborhood, because you give people different options of getting around, whether it's for exercise or getting to school or getting to work or getting to just the simple thing of going, riding a mile on your bike to pick up a bag of groceries at Publix, because if you realize that option is available to you, and it's a safe option and it's a healthy option, then you say, oh, okay, I can change my mind about how I'm going to get out and about. And by the way, it might actually take me less time because I don't have to negotiate with the traffic that I got to negotiate with my car. Now, like I've said before, I got no problem with cars. I got a couple of them myself. I drive all over the place, and I even make the short trip over to Publix in my car most of the time.
Because of the pretzel.
Because of the pretzel. Well, that because I'm a little lazy too, but which I would share that with anybody, and that's
But it's hard to cross Palmetto Park even at 9th.
It is.
And your next shot is all the way down at 4th.
Right.
Or you come up to the pretzel. That's it.
Absolutely.
But if you're on the other side, it should be a no-brainer.
Right.
But to get from Old Floresta or any of those neighborhoods across 12.
Yeah, it's challenging.
It's a challenge.
One of the issues too that we have is literally it's a two-way street, right? You have the needs of bikers and walkers to not get plowed by drivers. Drivers are really distracted. I walk every day in this neighborhood, about a mile and a half. I do the same walk every day, and what I look very closely at the drivers that are going through the pretzel, and the thing I see most often is about half the drivers have a cell phone in one hand and the steering wheel in the other.
But it's a two-way thing.
It's dangerous.
But drivers don't want to hit people either.
No, they don't.
And we can do things, right? But we can do things in our motorist infrastructure to help the motorists, because it ruins two lives.
Absolutely.
Whenever it happens.
Nobody wants to hurt anybody else. I agree with that. And it's certainly not intentional that they're doing that. But there's a lot of work that we can all do to improve the situation, and I think that's a good part of it too. Is that people need to understand that they have a lot of power personally to make changes in their own lives and in their communities' lives by speaking up. And it's not like you're going and complaining in front of the HOA and you want your neighbor's roof to be cleaned or whatever. This is actually about making long-term improvements in the community that makes it a better place to live, for not just for you, but for your kids and for your grandchildren and for anybody else who
and
comes
property values, right? It's like a three-legged stool. We can have a city council and staff that are working on it at improving it, and they can build it, right? But it also takes the people who live there to want it and to push for it, right? And then we need the money for it.
Yeah, that as well as the perspective of the people who live in the neighborhoods, because just as an example, most everybody who's on city council right now doesn't even live over here. There's only one council member who lives over here, and that's Monica Mayotte. She's right down the street. Everybody else is out west, so they're not here every morning Mark has gone out of his way, which is really great, to understand this neighborhood and to understand the street and to understand what we're talking about here. And this is a perfect example. A neighborhood school, very busy in the mornings, pretty busy in the afternoon, and there's great opportunities, there's great learning opportunities that we have right here just by observing in person. But the people who really understand it the best are the ones who walk and drive and bike their kids to school every day, and even the people who sit in car line every day, who live within a comfortable and safe walking and biking distance. It's their perspective that's really important, and I don't know that they understand how powerful that perspective is.
Yeah, you really have to get on two wheels and experience it.
I think one of the issues that we run into with anything, it's not just the city of Boca Raton, it's all over the world, is that you end up with engineers who are looking at something on paper or on a computer screen and like, okay, this is going to work like this, I can put this over here. And what you lose in that is sort of the art of the
hedges overgrowing.
I mean, there is an art to this as well, and
right.
We rely on the engineers, and thank God for them, because it's the reason that buildings stand up. but we have to have a little art involved too, and the art of it is when you have citizens who are interested in how we can improve our quality of life, make things better for the community now and going forward, and certainly to rely on the engineers for their help, because I don't want to dig on engineers.
Fran Knocklis, also a new member of our council, she's taking staff out on bikes and making them live it like we all do. Right. So Brian, thanks for coming out today and giving us insight into how the neighborhood part of all this works.
You bet, man. Thanks.